isn't great. Like, there's sort of this narrative that they're like Roland and Rolexes and like Mercedes, like, there's, even with these entitlements, they're not exactly like living large. So, you know,
And I mean, not to
better
mention,
than they're out in the street. There's a bigger leech on money if they're sick or homeless and become an addict than if we're kind of somewhat taking care of them.
And then they'll say about the addict, self-inflicted, not my problem.
well, sure. And people are always gonna say
Environmental,
that,
not my
but-
problem. Choices, man, choices.
But I
Right?
mean, I've been in the.
I know, I'm just being devil's
No, I
advocate.
understand that, I'm not, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
because
just
you're gonna
saying-
have those people.
Yeah, well,
And you'll have these people doing it to them.
But I say.
The rich people, they don't care.
Well, right, but I say
Yeah.
also that argument, like what they're saying there, it's like, I've been in that range before, just
Right.
taking care of myself, like a smaller one, and it's like, well, if someone offered me more money, I'm not gonna tell them no, and there was never a time where I was gonna go,
Well,
well, they're gonna tax me,
they're the
so
same.
no. Like,
Trump's
no,
who say,
that's never happened.
I'll take any loophole in the tax code, and that's good, that's what I should do. Well,
Mhm.
yeah, well, if there's an entitlement
Yeah.
for me, cause, you know,
Mhm.
And even the people that own their businesses, I've seen my father being one of them,
Mm-hmm.
that'll do a little workaround on some of that, and I don't blame anyone for that, but I really don't.
Right.
I mean, I get it is your money that you earn, you wanna keep it, that's not something I can chastise anyone for, absolutely.
I think a bit, you know, like you said before, like, if you, flat tax, it's like, well, you know, you want something to like to incentivize to get up here. I think everyone is trying to make more money,
Mhm.
and everyone always tries to make as most money as they can.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of like, you know, incentive, cause it's not like, okay, taxes are down, now it's time to become a millionaire, you know, like,
Yeah,
you know.
if
I was just
only.
thinking,
You know,
Yeah.
now like everyone, I just find that whole like the incentive like a week. I think just more money in general is incentive, and you know you can also argue like the more money you have, the less you need. Like people are like, if I want 5 boats, I want 5 boats, but it's like you know for the people up at the $400,000
Mhm.
range, a 35% tax is hitting them way less than the $50,000 person hitting for 25%.
Well, and I'd like to think that you're savvy with your money at this point to
Yeah.
invest and make interest off your money.
well, and
You would
Not
hope
everybody
so.
does that, but that's
You
what you
guys-
should be doing.
in the top range will also say, no more unions, no more minimum wage, no college handouts, no
Mhm.
healthcare. So, but you need to get up here on your own by your
Mhm.
bootstraps if you want the money, but
Mhm.
you absolutely can't have any chances.
They're the ones that are gonna say to you, everybody's provided opportunity, it's up to them to do what you do
Like
with
a
it.
small loan.
Yeah.
And I think it matters if you were like if you worked for that kind of money, like blood, sweat, and tears, or if you were born into that kind of money, where you just think that your
It's
entitlement.
not for us to, I mean, money's money, it's not mine.
Yeah,
That's what they'll argue.
yeah,
No matter if I'm a complete a-hole,
yeah.
it's not yours.
Like a Kardashian with a $500
Right.
ice cream scoop,
But that's what they're gonna say.
diamond
They're gonna sit
encrusted.
there and go, no matter
Yeah.
who I am, what gives you the mentality to think any of this is yours?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what I am. up
Right.
here, it's not
Right.
yours. What do you say to that person?
It's earned collectively on the backs of those first two brackets.
I mean, they're right, they can be a jerk all they want, but it's not mine, it's
Yeah.
not mine. I mean, it's an awful thing to say, but they'll say that too, and say that it's not yours.
It's not an awful thing to say, it's not anybody else's.
Right.
Everyone is paying into
But
that
you did
fund.
have this campaign time, that mentality happening,
Mm-hmm.
that it is theirs.
I mean, the only argument they have there
It's
is
not
that they pay
anybody
a little bit
else's.
more, but everyone's paying in.
But that's what I mean. And you made a good point, sometimes people aren't seeing, everybody is paying in,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not seeing it for what it is, yeah, with what level. And that's why I said, I commend them for having to tackle this. This has not been modernized, ready, since 1930.
Wow.
2017 we're at, and this has not been modernized and since the 1930s, since FDR and the New Deal. And people will complain about the New Deal because they'll say Social Security is archaic because it hasn't been modernized either to match today's income and global market. And there is like pros and cons to that. People like consistency and don't wanna touch something that's already there. It's scary. But then others will say, if we fix it, everybody will benefit. But it's like the unknown is terrifying to do that. Just as when FDR did the New Deal, that was the unknown and terrifying to people. But it was needed because you had a Great Depression. So everybody tanked. But these numbers, they're trying to shift these, and when you hear Congress doing tax reform, you're gonna hear all of these tossed around. So Democrat and Republicans are gonna fight over down to the 10th percentage point of what is going to change number-wise in this column.
Are they gonna add new brackets? Like in the 30s, that was a lot of money, but
I
now.
know, see, that's the thing too,
I
they
feel
haven't
like there could be, like,
modernized for
5
what,
more
a lot of money.
brackets.
And I
No.
say that, this is a lot of money to most of us,
Right.
but in today's world, the millionaire, it's really not. If
Right.
you have a dual income, it's not.
Right.
Your CEOs are making, I can't even tell you because you'll have a heart attack. But even your middle management in those companies are making, plus their benefit packages. So if you work in like the pharma industry, you have people all the way up that are making astronomical numbers. If you have people in Silicon Valley, they're making astronomical numbers. Now here's the kicker, you ready? Because this came up in the news. So now I'm a Democrat or a Republican. Here's where it gets sticky, who my constituents are, right? Nancy Pelosi is the minority leader. She's all excited because she's like, I think I'm getting close to getting this number increased. What she's not seeing is she has a bigger problem. These folks put her in office. Her donor list is this list. So you want to help voters in this, but your donors are in this. And that's where it gets complicated to satisfy both arenas. Because if you look at, your Democrats get in a stickier situation. Your Republicans are always going to be this realm. Their voters are, majority of them, and their donors. It's consistent. Where Democrats are going to struggle is their voters are predominantly here, but their campaign dollars are here. And that's just how the system is designed. To campaign, no matter what political party you are, you have to be here. But your ideology is not.
Well, it's, maybe they'll shift to that like Bernie crowd-funded style of like,
They have to, yeah.
everybody PayPal me $20.
You have
instead
to
of-
be, and he was thinking out of the box because he recognized that. I'm never gonna win if I have this motto, just like the Clinton motto was, because she was here more than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But she's pandering here, like she can relate. And it's hard to say you relate when public knowledge has your whole list of donors and you're getting more than even the Trump administration. So you lose elections because people find you phony, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to tell somebody that you believe in them when you're not them. So, and it happened to Mitt Romney. Except he was in this bracket all the way, but again, he still had to pull from here and he couldn't get enough because they looked at him the same way. So as a politician, you have a system designed that to win elections, you have to have a lot of money to run. You will burn through $1 million in a day. You have
Wow.
to honestly campaign for dollars the minute you lose an election, you begin again. So it gets difficult and sticky with voters because you have to argue to these folks and to these folks. And that's why you try to meet in the middle, be moderate. But now you have politics right now on extremes, they're not moderate. The way Donald Trump won, looking at this, was, I'm this guy, I know how to get around it, you need a guy like me to fight those people, because I know I was the bad one that did those things, and we don't deal, and I know how to get them. He also said to this group, I do companies, I have a business, I get this, we gotta fix this. And then he also satisfied the blue collar, right? He took from every political party and made a hybrid political party, but called himself a Republican. Because it worked. He took all the pieces and recognized what everybody needed and put them all in one lump sum and sat in the middle. instead of categorizing themselves. And that's how you're gonna do with elections and to do this. Your Congress is gonna have to do the same thing. They're gonna have to meet in the middle. So you're gonna have to see who's willing to give up their donor list to do all that. Because it's going to take, this is gonna come out in the media when somebody's arguing this. So you have to be ready for it.
Do you think that, cause I have thought about this before, you think that like the use of like donors and everything is kinda like, kinda archaic and should be kinda done away with? In the sense that like you need money to be able to run. We're in an age where like information can get like disseminated like so cheaply. Like I thought about like what would happen if you like banned advertising yourself and we're like everyone like down to the base level, let's say every candidate was just like given a web page. Or like and then
Like rules, and everybody
Right.
had to do it, like you're capped.
because
Mhm.
that way you're not you don't pander to the people that put you in office or whatever.
There
But
has been over and over arguments, and even people that ran would like to reform campaign finance.
Doesn't Britain have something like that? Like
John McCain was the last one to hit that when he ran, he was gonna do it. Britain,
I think if they have like certain
Parliament
moratoriums
has
on the media and
$40,000, and that is it. Nobody can go past it. They cap everybody, you're absolutely right. They have a different system because they also have class elitists. So they don't care that they're capping everyone because their name carries more weight than the cash. Because there's still a caste system of my name carries more weight, especially in the House of Lords. They still go by Countess, Count, Baron, yeah. So they have a caste system, so it's hard, but there's been talks of that. They also, because they have a prime minister and the way Parliament works, they don't have debates. They don't have televised stuff and do all that because they're picked from within, so you're not gonna debate somebody. Pennsylvania, this is your current stuff you're looking at. You actually have a flat tax when it comes to income. Everybody, 3%, there it is. You have a flat tax. Now look at some of the other states to know how high it is. Look at California. Oh. You also have sales tax, and I'll show you some things from the new budget. So you'll see what you're gonna be taxed on and what you're not gonna be taxed on under Governor Wolf. Let's see here, so you have 4%, and I could put you some examples there, even on your prescription drugs are pulled into that. Property taxes, we went over that, is 1.2. It's about, everybody's about the same. You have New Jersey and Texas a little higher, but it's nothing outlandish. They're all gonna be about the same because they try to get it from other sources, as you can see, they can control. Gasoline, I mean, this fluctuates, but the tax doesn't. Your pricing might fluctuate, but that's how much of at the pump is going towards a tax versus just getting paid. Cigarettes is the biggest one, and I remember when this happened. This wasn't even touched. I was a college student, and everybody was smoking back then. Everybody's buying a pack of cigarettes. The tax is more than what a pack of cigarettes was when I was in college. They were $1.89 for like your lead packs with the tax included. They were $1.89 and now they're $6.85 a pack.
Yeah, some of them are almost $10.
President Clinton, Bill Clinton initiated taxing cigarettes in the 90s. Yeah, because he knew that it's a subtle way to get dollars and hopefully a subtle way to get people to stop smoking without telling them not to smoke. So they tried to implement this and it's been successful and it's just grown from there. And depending on what state you're in, I put New York there. Whew, that's why they come over the border into my area and buy the grocery store. I will see cartons on the belt that they're taking back and they sell them out of their trunk when I
see
go
that
back
from
to
the
New York.
Sands too, like they'll come and walk out of the Sands.
Oh, do they? Yeah.
Do you think that now that cigarette smoking is really tanking, that's gonna slowly become like a legal weed thing because they'll see they can tax that even probably higher?
I know. See, everybody gets excited about weed, and
the
you
states
know,
are
we
gonna
can do all
start to
this,
go,
and I said
like,
everybody did about cigarettes too, and then they found the money they could make off of it. So that will eventually be heavily taxed.
Lobbyists are, yeah, they're gonna salivating about.
And then they're gonna be like, only certain people can get weed because they can afford it and I can't, and that's what happens with cigarettes, only the wealthy can smoke now, you know, and they're like, well, it's a choice. When that first came into play, it became, because college students were the biggest smokers back then. Like you go out on a Friday night and everybody had packs of cigarettes in their hand, it's crazy. And you could smoke in restaurants and bars and all that. But what happened was when that kicked in, it became the college students' revolt of only wealthy college kids and colleges can afford cigarettes and the others can't. And that's gonna happen with your marijuana population eventually. That happens with anything they put tax on. But if they know they can make a lot of money off of it, especially if you're addicted to something, you have to have it. So then you're gonna buy it, and a lot of people, and I have smokers that I know that still smoke for like 40 years, and they'll tell you it's a necessity. No, it's not. In their mind, it is. Like, they'll give that up for vitamins and anything else. Here is things that are gonna be tax exempt in the new budget. So these were formulated as they will not be taxed. This is your Pennsylvania Assembly approving this. Your governor kind of writing a lot of this and hoping that they would pass some of it, and some was give and take. But they did stay away from, like we talked about before, your utilities, things like that. I'm happy when I see hospitals, things of that
I'm
nature.
surprised gas is on there.
The what?
Gasoline, that seems surprising.
Yeah. And then you have, before you get too excited over tuition, when I flip the slide, because I'm typing that and I'm like, they're gonna be like, yes! They'll just get you another direction. But it's interesting, some of the things, common carriers are gonna be like your tax on your FedEx, your UPSs, your carriers, your deliveries. Even trade-in value is not gonna be touched, which is nice, especially for vehicles. I'm not sure what this means, because this kind of made me giggle. Isn't all charities, to put purely public charities was kind of strange to me of what you categorize as purely and what's not a pure charity. I think you just use the word charity as charity, and you know, it's just determined if they file as a charity or not. Let's call it purely public is kind of interesting. But they try to stay away from healthcare and prescription drugs. I look at it as they'll just get you another direction with it, but at least they're not double tapping. And this is in your Google Drive on the slides too. You guys wanna know? These are your taxed items. I was really mad about the candy. I think I was mad because I worked in a candy store, it's the first job I ever had. So when I did the register and stuff, it was just like, this is $4, this is $4. It was like so easy to like exchange, and to see that I was like, oh. And I get mad when it's a nice, fun, happy thing like that, and you have a tax on it. Flags is very interesting to me.
Horses.
Horses, purchasing horses.
Eagles.
Or dogs and cats.
Textbooks, oh,
Yeah, that's what I said. You got your tuition, but, let's look at how much you guys pay for textbooks. Let's tax that. That's what I mean, when you compare the two lists, you kind of feel like you're still being taxed in that area, but it's just a sly way of getting you like in the back door type of thing. So I don't know how much you're dancing around not getting. But it's interesting. Airline catering.
Really?
I don't know how they singled that one out, but
Who-
it is
like-
on your State Department website as an item. I can't imagine sitting there and they're voting on these, like,
Construction
you guys okay with
memorials.
horses? Or what?
Wouldn't like a lot of memorials be things ones the state is constructing? Like, how are they taxing themselves then?
I looked at it as a wash like you are, like, isn't that coming from the state
I mean, I
anyway?
guess some aren't, but a lot of them.
I think they threw it on there to be like a tchotchke, like they looked good doing something nice, and I'm like, that would be just you paying yourself back, I don't know. But some are interesting. Yeah. At least they're being kind during a really horrible time for someone.
These things are already outrageous. Like, I've said this to other people I know, like, just, like, I wear like a dog, like, wrap me in a blanket, I don't care.
My neighbor, I make fun of him all the time because he owns one of the largest funeral homes in Monterey County and has a crematory as well, and he takes our interns from here up to Poconos, the Pullock Funeral Home. And I always laugh because I'm like, I make fun of him. I'm like, you know, you're ridiculous, you charge people for like, he's like, I don't want to tell you the increases that are about to happen for people. But if you've ever unfortunately had to bury someone and you were responsible for it, you know how much that costs.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it can really be a hit for a family. And you have to do it quickly, and monies don't transfer that quickly. If you're doing insurance, you gotta still pay out of pocket because it won't be there in time. Couple grand, you gotta write a check for, and what are you gonna do? Not buy the best for your mom or dad, or it's a horrible thing to go through.
I don't know the difference.
Just hope there's a cold patch.
You go back home.
It's just ethically, you're standing there like, you wanna say that to yourself, and then you're like, it's my mom. Like, that is a horrible thing to say. But everybody does it. You just said what everybody's thinking.
I mean,
You did.
I mean, that's the field I'm going into too, but, I mean,
Well, that's why I always tell people you want to pre-plan so you don't do it.
Yeah.
Is the trick. Okay, where does it all go? We talked about this, again, to go over it if you were walking out when we're talking about it. The worst part is most of it's wages, so it's going into the people that are charging you. It's going into the government. They're the highest employer behind your school system. And you also have education number 2 because just landscape wise, all the districts, the school boards, they gotta pay for all of that. The teachers, they're all paid by the state. That's why they negotiate contracts. Healthcare, same thing. They, when you're talking about, we said Medicaid, we're talking about the entitlement, not Medicare. You're talking about the federal will give some dollars, but then the state has to supplement on their population. So they have to put money aside to cover the entitlement program. And then you have different forms of welfare programs, your fire, your police, your prison systems, and of course, Pennsylvania, you have the burden of roads, especially. You're called a Keystone State for a reason. You have the most trucking going through one state for New England, for the South, and for the West with Route 80. And they are all benefiting, but your state has to pay for the most of that. So it's very difficult to keep up with it.
You're also the pothole state.
Well, and you also have horrific winters on top of it.
Yeah.
When you go to Florida and you drive in Florida, have any of you guys driven in Florida?
Mhm.
You're like, God, this is nice.
no. Florida has worse potholes than up here, but we have more potholes.
You're just
here.
like, the landscape, the painting on the road, everything is so nice because they don't have to deal with,
You can.
Winter.
Yeah, once you get to like the Carolinas, you just suddenly like,
they don't have any frozen soil cracking it. So they don't have to try to keep up with it, plus they can pave them year round. I always laugh in my area when they put the cinders in the hole. You know what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
Where they just go with a shovel one day,
Yeah.
and you're like, there you go, and then that just pops out when it rains.
Yep.
And then it shoots your windshield and you get an appointment with like the windshield guy because it just like,
yeah,
Safely.
God,
it eats away the bottom of your car, all the chemicals
Ugh.
and stuff.
it makes you crazy.
I used to live in Michigan, and they make the roads out of concrete because it cracks so much.
Ugh.
That they just have to redo the concrete every year. It's stupid. I don't even know why. There's like I'm supposed to drive. All you hear is
There are small roads by me where they've given up, that they don't really pave.
They just don't care.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you think it's going to be the first layer and you're waiting for that day where they're gonna actually come back and blacktop the thing until you drive on it and they've painted the road. And they're like, oh dear God, this is it. The lines.
I lived in the Poconos for most of my life.
And
I've
they
been
look
out
at
of it for
that.
2 years, and I bet you they're still not
Ice
filled.
and snow is gonna build up on this thing, so
Yeah.
if you want it rough, it does make sense. So that you don't slide like an ice rink on pretty like blacktops. There's common sense to it, but when they first do it, everybody's driving on it and it's just like spitting up on everybody.
And they're expecting you guys to have like trucks and SUVs up there,
Oh.
but like I bring my little Chevy Cavalier.
I was gonna
up
say.
there.
Yep.
There is somebody around me that has a smart car, and I say this every time it happens. When I'm driving, it's like they're sandwiched between all these pickup trucks.
Yeah.
They don't even have a chance. Like,
No.
they're drowning in cinders right now.
They're like a hockey puck.
Oh. Because you do. Any questions on anything? You guys okay? Have a good weekend. Email me if you have any problems.
Okay.